Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a mini-sode of Baka. This is an anime podcast where every 2 weeks we watch an anime and come to talk about it, but this week we don't because we like to talk about stuff every other week to fill in the space. And this week we're doing something special, but we're going to get to that in a second. Before we talk about our random topic, let me introduce my sidekicks. First off, we have the All Might to my Deku, Jeremy.
Hey. Okay, cool. I should know that one a lot faster.
It's funny because I called you sidekicks and then made myself the sidekick.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, wait a minute, which one am I? Oh. So, I've been doing good. I actually have gotten farther than I've ever gotten before in a really cool roguelike that I recommend to everybody called Tales of Maj Ayel. It's also known as Tome 4. It's really good. It's got a tile interface. It's really easy to wrap your head around. It's really transparent with information. Very, very good roguelike.
Graphics are awful.
No, they're beautiful. I mean, check out the other roguelikes.
Well, okay, so comparatively.
Yeah. It has an ASCII mode if you really want to.
Oh, jeez. How am I going to be insulted now? Go ahead, Trey.
My other co-host is the grape juice to my createe, Jason.
Creative.
Createe is the hot girl who can make things from her body.
And grape
juice is the guy with the balls on his head.
That's good.
So you're a hot chick then. Fair enough.
Yep.
Pretty much the hottest, I think.
Yeah, I believe it in my heart. How are you, Jason?
I'm pretty decent. I lost myself in Path of Exile. The new league launched, but it'll be 5 weeks now. No, hasn't even been that long. 3 weeks ago. It's the end game is super fun. There's like this war between the two like big baddies, and so you got to go like fight them. But in order to fight them, you have to kill the influence of one to spread the influence of the other, and they corrupt the maps that you go into as they spread their influence, which will then drop really cool stuff that makes ridiculous items. Like, because for the people that don't know Path of Exile, you socket skills into your items, and some of them you can only do like 3. Well, some of these are like pre-socketed with like 2 or 3 other abilities, so you can get a one-hander that normally you can only put 3 on. It'll have 3 of its own, so then you can put 3 more, and then you'll have 6. So it's like double the power that it should be. Yeah, so it's been pretty fun.
That's cool.
And just decorating for Christmas, almost falling off my roof. That was pretty fun. Troy warned me last year when I made fun of him for putting on a projector on his house. I was like, you don't hang Christmas lights. He's like, yeah, wait till next year when you pull them out of storage. And he was right.
By the way, I put up my projector again. So I even have it on an auto switch, so I don't have to walk outside to get them on. It's the laziest I could possibly be. You know, my wife had a great idea of putting them in milk jugs, and the water freezes so they have a nice solid base so you can move them back and forth on the yard. I thought it was smart.
That's cool.
That is pretty smart.
Yeah, I'm glad someone's smart in this house. My name's Troy. I've been lost in Call of Duty while these guys have been lost in their games, because running around shooting things is kind of my thing. FPS, man.
How's that new gun?
It's good. It's slightly underpowered to an already existing gun, and I feel like they did that on purpose so people wouldn't get pissed after watching everything that happened with Battlefront 2.
Yeah, I bet.
They're just like, let's take that gun, lower every number by 1, give it a new shape, give it to people, and be like, well, at least you know you have something better available.
Perfect.
But for the most part, I like it. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I think I watched Food Wars lately, and then went and cooked random crazy stuff in my kitchen with my kids pretending to be my sous chefs. It's kind of fun.
Season 4, right?
3 still.
Okay, because I saw a Reddit post. I guess season 4 is coming out soon.
Yes.
And I guess they've done some upgrade on some of the animations. It looks pretty good.
Season 3 has been really good because it's finally gotten to the point of everything. There's a big baddie, and like we're battling for control of the school, and everyone who was the rival that we complained about is like on the team. He has his Z fighters now, and
Nice.
so yeah, it's going even more shonen than before, but it makes everything else pay off. So I like it.
That's cool.
Speaking of old animes we've watched, so with these mini-sode topics, we a lot of times do very similar things. Topics about anime that we just come up with, or other stuff. But the whole point was just to get as random as possible. Like, it's literally a grab bag of topics that we can talk about. And I thought it'd be really cool to maybe sometimes use it to go back at an anime we've already reviewed that has gone on further and revisit that review and also kind of look at the new content. And we've had people actually ask if we were going to revisit this anime multiple times, and we're not going to do a full regular episode for My Hero Academia because I don't want to get tied up in too many shonens, because if we start doing that for one, we do it for many, and then we're just a repeating cycle of different shonens and not touching new content. We all agree that's how it will work. And so we have like that 2-season limit we do, but I thought, hey, let's do a mini-sode about it and talk about our old things. Not everyone's seen season 2, so we'll talk about our old reviews and what we remember from it. Did it last? After all the animes we've watched since then, does anything change? And then we'll see where we are. So I'm going to start off with you guys. What do you remember from My Hero Academia? It was the very first anime we watched on this podcast. How much actually stuck with you?
For me, you say run is always the joke on the internet. It goes with everything. But I'll go back and watch that fight scene every once in a while because it was such a great fight scene. And also the payoff for that scene, watching that entire season, was just, it was shown in gold. Like you said when we first reviewed it, was that they set a new standard for shonen. It didn't feel shonen-y, even though it had all the shonen parts, and it felt fresh, and the stories were interesting, and they didn't have weird fillers. So that's really what I remember from it, was the joy of watching it. Like, I would probably go back and rewatch it.
I remember it being a lot of fun. I remember the characters being interesting. Oddly, I also remember having a few frustrations with the physics of Leg Guy, especially when he was lifted above the crowd, which demonstrated that his legs work according to physics, and then at another point they didn't. But again, that's a minor technicality of minutia that I would love to pick at. I also remember the dystopia that I saw in that world. Yeah?
Yeah, it did. I know you've gone a little bit farther, at least in season 2. I don't think you ever finished it, but has time or what you just have heard or seen previews of from My Hero Academia, is that theory sticking solid or gone away?
It's actually really interesting. A listener or maybe viewer, I don't know, wrote in and talked to me a little bit about that, and I got to listen to their perspective on it. It was very interesting too. I think just with the calculations that you can make, I can't remember all the numbers and I can't remember exactly what I said in response, but I think based on the information that's presented in the second season, I think there was still a strong case to say that enough time has passed that you would expect to see more changes than you actually have seen in the technology of everyday life for the regular citizen, and more usage of powers outside of the realms of what is permissible by heroes that are designated to stop crime and things like that. And I think it was the timelines is the big issue, because you learn a little bit more in the second season about about how many generations have passed since One for All was conceived basically as a power. And so you can track back a little bit farther in time to figure out how long these powers have been around. And I think it was actually possibly, there's a case for it possibly being longer than what I originally came up with in the calculations in my post. So I would expect to have seen even more changes in technology with a greater amount of time of these powers being present and possibly examined and tested on. So I think there's a stronger case, possibly. I mean,
tip audience: Jeremy does not let go of theories lightly. Just if you ever go in to prove it wrong, be ready.
You won't leave without teeth and claw marks.
He will admit when he's wrong. I won't ever say that about him, but he will fight tooth and nail and goes for it. That's just one of the reasons he's on this podcast for sure. I mean, it's hard for me to say because I've kept up with CNJ. I gush about it all the time on our podcast. Season 1, I remember the villains sucking. I still feel that way. I'm still not super impressed with the villains. But like Jason, I go back and watch that final fight scene. I watch it with different memes attached. I watch it pure. I listen to that song all the time. I think some of the heroes that I thought were lame in season 1 are cool now. Guys, tape from his elbows works a lot like Spider-Man, and he's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And then like Grapehead guy is still the worst. Just how did he survive the testing? Remember they had to fight those robots to get into class 1A? There's a lot of characters. I'm like, how are you in this class? The Invisible Girl. How did you beat all those robots? You're just invisible. Other stuff like that. All Might is still a great character. I still prefer the dub to the sub. Yeah. So, and I still get really emotional about that Deku saving Bakugo scene when he pulls him out of the sludge monster. And that was the episode that hooked me so hard into that anime, and I still love that scene very much.
I haven't really kept up with the second season too much. I watched. I am not good with keeping up with animes as they release, and then if something doesn't get my attention on it once they're all released and ready to go, I forget about them. Right. And so I never really. I watched up to a point because a certain amount of them were released, and then there were no more at the time, and so I left it and had forgotten. And I have not remembered to go binge watch the rest. So I'm kind of partway through season 2. And I remember thoroughly enjoying season 2, which is very much a tournament arc for the first half of it, right? And I still loved it, which we had conversations on the podcast even where we were looking forward and saying, oh, God, if season 2 is a tournament arc, I hate tournament arcs. I remember you saying that, Troy, especially. And and I got to say, just like with the way they handled season 1 and the introduction of the powers and everything and world building, they innovated in the tournament arc. It was great. It was really, really well done. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this anime brought my love back for shonen, but yeah, I remember I wasn't going to watch season 2. It's it's a tournament arc. No, it's over. I'm done. I'm out. And I don't know what inspired me to go back. And the first episode of the season 2, not exactly strong. Their seasons kind of start a little slow of just hey, welcome back to school life. Everything's normal. And it built up real fast and was better than the first season, that tournament style that they were doing. And it's always interesting watching Deku having to figure out how to do stuff without breaking every bone in his body.
It was interesting also seeing how other characters start to get a bit more of the limelight. You start to see them separating and standing on their own and saying, yeah, we were a team during this part, but right now we really need to stand on our own merits because we're not going to be able to operate in the field together. We need to start thinking about independence. And also seeing how some of the different characters have their own demons to fight, and how they conquer them is really interesting. And it's a very long process for some of them, like Fire and Ice Guy. He has some huge character development during the tournament arc that is really enjoyable to watch. It makes that character a much more interesting one.
So I want to move us back to season 1 for a few bits. So we've watched a lot of anime since then, and actually one of the reasons that I feel you, Jeremy, on not being able to stream, because when you want to binge an anime, you're like, I want to binge this, but I have a podcast in a week, and there's something I'm assigned to binge. I've got to go do that instead. So a lot of animes I only am able to watch if I can do it one episode at a time, and I have to have VRV pop up and be like, "Hey, did you know there's a new episode of Food Wars?" There is. Well, ain't that a treat? But so my point is, we've watched a lot of anime since then, but we gave our reviews of this with almost not a lot of anime behind us, at least in recent times. Of what we watched a lot of modern anime. Mm-hmm. So with everything we've seen since then, what would you guys score season 1 of My Hero Academia now, from what you remember? And everyone, just not official scores, so if anyone's keeping track, please don't overwrite our old My Hero Academia scores.
I don't remember what I gave it.
I feel like we gave 3s and 4s.
I would definitely still give it a 4 because, yeah, the bad guys weren't great and they weren't well developed because they never got screen time until the last couple episodes. Mm. But the story itself, and like Jeremy was saying, the demons that every character had to endure themselves. It's interesting because we just got done reviewing an anime with a ton of characters in it, and it felt flat. It felt bland. This had a bunch of characters in it, and I was able to connect in a storytelling way to just about every one of them. Like, I can remember most of them. I can't remember their names because I can't remember the names of my friends. But
you have our names written stickies next to our pictures.
Why do you think I need the toolbox? No.
That's right.
That's why you call me every episode when mine disappears.
Right? Yeah. Who's the guy with glasses? No, that's me. Oh gosh. But yeah, I remember the fond moments of just about every single character except for dude that can make his arms stone or blades or whatever.
They get a little more interesting later, but yeah.
Okay. I remember fully enjoying this anime and rooting for especially Deku. So I would keep, if I gave it a 4, I would definitely give it a 4 again.
I think having given even more thought to it now, Deku's struggle, I'd kind of forgotten because I really haven't thought about it that much, but Deku's struggle was so central and so big and such an important thing. I remember that being the scene that was my favorite when he found out that he didn't have powers and that he wanted them so bad and he was looking forward to them so much, and just the way that they portrayed his expression and everything. And yeah, that was huge. He
cry too much.
He did cry too much.
And I did love that scene that his mom's there. It's just there, honey. And he's just devastated.
Yeah, he is. It's just terrible. So, there were a lot of moments that were really emotive like that with the characters, but it wasn't unbelievable. And for the most part, I remember there not being too many stepping outside the boundaries of what they establish as the rules of their universe. Although there is one big moment that I didn't like, I remember now, which was when All Might said, going over 100% power or something like that, turbo, super, ultra. And granted, they did give him some level of consequence for it, but at the time it was very frustrating because I was like, okay, shouldn't that mean you're dead? How much over this can you go?
You don't understand. It's 100% of his power plus his feelings.
Exactly. I hate that. Feelings are unquantifiable. They mean nothing. They're infinite. They're everything and nothing. Yeah. And so
what you're forgetting is when that happens, don't say run or
is playing.
playing. So it's okay.
Everything's good. It's all good. Yes.
Everyone's over 100% when that song's playing.
It's true. So, yeah, I still would give it a 4. I don't remember what I gave it, but I would give it a 4. It's still up there among all the animes that we've seen since then. It's still a high point. Definitely a high point.
I hope I gave it a 4 because I would give it a 4 now. Even though I want to give My Hero Academia in total a 5 because I think it does things shonen, like it takes shonen's faults and makes them good. Like Jason said, it makes all these characters awesome in a moment. And it kept doing that in season 2. It'd be like, hey, here's this new character. I don't care about, why is he so sad?
Yes.
But if I remember correctly, there's still a few episodes that were just kind of lame ducks mixed in, like hanging out in the cafeteria and the news breaking in. That training montage though is still one of the best in anime because it was so realistic. Of no, you need to work out every day and rest and sleep and eat, and these are the basics of exercise. You don't need to go 100 times gravity sit-ups till you die. There's a realism to that I so much appreciated. But another downside is those villains, and I still think that's one of my hero favorites. The villains of the season that show up are great. The villains of the everything is still that scratchy guy, and he's still kind of pathetic.
That's too bad.
Is the scratchy guy, is that the hand on face guy? Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they're still working with him, and there's still the guy, whatever's behind him, pulling the strings. But yeah, let's go into season 2. And there's going to be some spoilers for season 2, so I hope you've watched it or want to watch it, or this might be a good point to duck out the podcast. And Jason hasn't seen it, so I'll try not to spoil him too much. But I wanted to talk about some things in season 2. They come up with a great villain in season 2. And that's Stain, the hero killer, because he's not evil. He's a guy who believes that these heroes that work for corporations and have sponsors, he's like, that's not what heroes are. You should be caring about people. So he's going around murdering these bad heroes and just weeding them out.
That makes it better.
And how that impacts the lives of these young students who are coming up as in this society. It's so interesting. He's such a good villain, and his power is so cool. If he drinks your blood, you're frozen for like 5 minutes, and so he's just covered in knives and katanas and but he's drawn like a Todd McFarlane villain. Like he's got the long flowing scarves of the 90s and grungy, and it's really cool that they pulled that style and they made such an interesting character. And even though he has like one battle in the series, his effects of his personality are like rippling through the story now.
Yeah, I remember thinking. Yeah, I remember thinking that he looked like a mixture of like Venom mixed with who's that? It was Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, way back in the day.
Yeah.
The guy with no jaw and he had a scarf that came up to here.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah, vampire guy. Yeah, he reminds me a lot of that character design. I really like that style of character design. Yeah. I don't know too much about him other than what you've told me, which is basically what you said here. But I do remember that there was even a point in the tournament arc where there was a character that
the purple-haired guy, right?
Yeah, seemed like he was just going to be this irritating villain annoyance, and in the end, you're practically rooting for him to win and Deku to lose. And
that's so the character. When we mentioned falling in love with the characters, that's the guy I was thinking of, because he has one thing where he introduces himself, and it's like, oh, he's going to be our antagonist for this arc, and then he has his fight with Deku, and his power is like mind control. And you're like, wow, what a jerk. This guy's so bad. He's just making Deku walk off. And then you get a 1 second backstory. Like, it's not, hey, let's see his whole childhood. It's sitting in class, people learning his power and going, man, why isn't that guy just being a villain? He should be a villain. And he's sitting there with Deku's same goal as Deku. I want to be a hero. I just want to be a hero so bad. And I don't have a power I can fight with. I have a villain's power. And he's entered this tournament to be like, I want to be a hero too, guys. And you're like, oh man, I want you to win. You deserve it as much as Deku did. He went through the same crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a fantastic character building. And they did the thing that you say is so terrible, and I agree with you in, which is having a flashback in the middle of a fight. But they did it right. They did it good.
It doesn't take up most of your episode. It's brief. It tells you exactly what you need to know, and then it's gone.
And it mattered. It actually contributed to the development of this character in a meaningful way that left you caring about them rather than being, was that even necessary? You know?
Yeah. And
good.
And we can't talk about season 2 without the Todoroki Deku fight, which is, if you're not going to watch season 2 of My Hero Academia, go watch this episode. I believe it's just called Shoto Todoroki.
It's a really good fight.
That's one of the best fights I've ever seen. It's amazing. It has those flashbacks, but they don't take over the episode. They're little quick interspersed with the action just to give you a second to breathe. Yet they build up this guy who was kind of a nothing in the first season. He was that ice hot guy. Like everyone says he's powerful, but we don't see anything about him. And suddenly his story matters so much. And Deku's character growth in that battle is beyond anything I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man willing to lose a fight to save the day, and just teaching us all what a hero is while they're at a school for heroes.
Yeah, he's like Siegfried from Fate Apocrypha.
There you go. Way to bring that up.
Excuse me.
I hope it never gets a mini-sode where we revisit Fate Apocrypha. So I hope I don't spoil too much. I do think, like I said, if you're not going to watch, keep going. That fight is a instructional video on how to do shonen battles, and it's pretty great. If you're wondering what I would review season 2, I'd give it a 5. It does have one filler episode in it, but it's about the frog girl. So I
oh really?
Yeah, that's all right.
It's not even that good of an episode, but I really like Frog Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Sue is the best.
Yeah, so does the internet, but don't go looking for it.
No.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, the ship that I wanted is probably never going to happen.
Which one was that?
Yeah. There is one character we thought was kind of dumb. He has like a blocky head, and he had a mouth on his shirt. It just showed like a teeth, and he never talks, and he's just this big guy, and we never saw him do anything. His ability is to talk to animals and get him to do what he wants. And he has a scene in season 2, just one scene, and they play You Say Run when it happens. And I've never cheered so hard for a character and watched him become my favorite so fast.
Wow.
That's really funny.
You Say Run is cheating.
Yes.
To be fair.
Absolutely cheating.
They could show them, take you test. Also, Bakugo's character development in season 2 is off the charts. It's hard to remember that he's a bully who wanted to murder a kid in season 1.
Really? He actually loses some of that, huh?
No.
Okay.
But I think we should end it there. If I gave a review for season 2, it'd be a 5. That's all I wanted to say. And then I went too far. If you have thoughts on the second season of My Hero Academia, Jeremy's theories, or any animes you want us to take a look back at, let us know in our comment sections or on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com. And, we are always loving new ideas for minisodes, so couldn't hurt.
The less we have to think about the topic of the minisodes, the better.
Yeah, we definitely live up to the show's title. And thank actually to my co-host for letting me do this, because I bring up My Hero Academia all the time on this podcast, and I just felt like I just need to get it all out there. Maybe now I can just stop bringing it always up. We are currently watching a movie called Your Name. No one's watched it yet, which is weird. It's like they're putting it off to the last minute because they don't want to suffer through it.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. One of you is going to convert. I just feel it. One of you is going to walk in and be like, you got me.
And let's be honest, if it's either Jeremy or I, it's going to be me.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Right.
Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
May the Force be with you.
Sayonara.